Hello everybody, welcome back. A long, quick update on what is happening in football land. Today, as we speak, no doubt, the EFL are in their meetings. We had the Premier League meeting on Monday, so apparently it's going to be quite time consuming. There are three separate EFL meetings today. First, the EFL board, then the championship clubs, and then the bottom two leagues. I know it was 4 or 5 hours for the Premier League on Monday, and then Richard Masters then spoke to journalists as well after that. So I'm guessing things will drip out, and I will give my opinion on stuff as we get it, and then hopefully we can get another video and get some debate going on whatever is decided. The expectation we've heard, although there were news from our local journalists for my club Ipswich saying this is not set in stone, but the expectation is today that League 1 and 2 will be cancelled, and the favourite scenario was the weighted points per game with home and away taken into account to decide the league tables, and promotions and relegations will be honoured. Whatever they come up with, some are going to find it fair, some are going to find it unfair. It does seem to be a complete matter of taste and opinion as to the system at the moment. So EFL talking now. That's all I'll say on that until we get a bit more hard and fast info. Info is something that the BBC apparently has got from, was it the FA or the Premier League? Whoever's given the protocols about returning to training on Monday. As you'd imagine in the media, these have been taken way out of context with lots of people saying, oh, you can't look at people when you tackle anymore. So as I understand it, these are protocols for training, and not only just for training, but for the first phase of training. Remember, we're still essentially in a kind of soft lockdown now, aren't we, until the hopeful second phase on June the 1st, when I think it's non-essential retail and primary schools. So this is for training in the first phase, not in Premier League matches behind closed doors. So tackling will be banned, pitches disinfected, and players restricted to groups of 5 in this first phase. Sounds a lot like early pre-season. I don't know at what point in pre-season clubs start doing contact work, and but it does just sound like a lot of kind of fitness, which if it was pre-season no one would bat an eyelid, but weird times. Everything needs to be disinfected after each session: corner flags, balls, cones, goalposts, playing surfaces. Players cannot share transport with anybody. Vehicle interiors need to be cleaned, and team vehicles and public transport are off limits. So again, I reiterate, I've seen a lot of the outraged society going, oh, game's gone, you can't look at people, you can't tackle people. Well, this is the first phase of training, and assuming we get to a second phase, which can only be a good thing because it would mean that the horrible numbers stayed down and things were moving forward, I guess those measures would be ratcheted up a little bit. Hopefully this should satisfy people who are worried about player safety. This does seem very, very cautious and very, very safe conditions. Obviously, the flip side is you're going to get your games gone people who are going to say, oh, you shouldn't be training if this is the state of it. I personally disagree with that. I think you've got to try and do something. We can't just keep everything on lockdown forever, and a slow and cautious build back to safe training would seem sensible to me. Yes, it is cautious, but if this is the first phase and the first road back, and the players get something out of it, and some fitness happens. Obviously, a risk for no reward, yeah, pointless. But if it's really safe and they're going to get something out of it, then I think that's good. And just to put it in the wider context, which we've been trying to do, I would hope that all the subscribers and all the people watching, if they could get similar protection at their jobs they're working at the moment or when they go back, I'm sure their families would be happy about that. So get your thoughts in the comments on that, and just remember it's for the first phase of training. Obviously players are going to be able to tackle in matches, hopefully, if and when they restart. Third and final news sort of this morning, we had Stuart Webber on Sky this morning. Now, before any issues of bias come in, I am an Ipswich fan, and Stuart Webber is the Norwich, sporting director. I'm a big fan of Stuart Webber. He's obviously done amazing work to get Huddersfield up, and even more so probably to get Norwich up from where they were when he took over, and the restructuring and the amazing turnaround they had in the 2018-19 season. So after a sort of silence from Norwich for the last week or so, he's come out and spoken. Remember, they're the bottom Premier League club, so a lot of kind of nefarious accusations have been put towards these bottom Premier League clubs, which he debunked. And I think generally people are realising now that that was the story of last week, and the Monday Premier League meeting has kind of debunked the fact that the neutral venues issue was the bottom six teams trying to apply self-interest. I don't think it was. I think pretty much unanimously nobody wanted the neutral venues. So he poured water on that. He said it needs to be settled on the pitch, which we all hope can be the outcome. What he did say on a couple of interesting opinions were, we cannot accept a situation where we play all our games and get relegated, and the Championship doesn't play all their games, and they automatically promote some teams that haven't played the season. That will obviously go down absolutely terribly with Leeds and West Brom and Fulham fans. I get where Webber is coming from in one rule for one and one rule for the other. I get that, but if that's his argument, then we're talking about the Premier League and the EFL. They're two different organisations, so it literally is one rule for one rule for the other. In an ideal world, of course, Leeds and West Brom and whoever wins the playoffs would earn their promotion by playing out the season and switch over with the relegated teams who would deserve their relegation having played out the whole season. My argument would be that if the Premier League was allowed to carry on because of the infrastructure that the Premier League can afford, and the £4 million for testing and all the things that kind of go with that, and it's literally less games to organise and no playoffs as well, and the Championship couldn't do that, A, because the Championship is different and there is more teams and more games, and B, because they didn't have the money, they could not afford to do that, then for me that's where Webber's argument there dies a little bit. If the Championship can continue, brilliant. If the Premier League can continue, brilliant. But comparing the two is apples and oranges, and Webber should know as well as anybody how hard it is to get out of the Championship and the differences that lie therein in the Premier League. So you can't judge the Premier League by Championship rules, and you can't judge the Championship by Premier League rules. Unfortunately, they are two very different things. That's what has made it easier in the Bundesliga, Bundesliga 2. There you go. It's the same organisation. And maybe to satiate Webber's view here, maybe once League 1 and 2 are cancelled, maybe the Premier League can help a bit more with the Championship and give them the infrastructure that the Premier League is getting. And then I would endorse Stuart Webber's view and say, well, okay, great, if they're going to go and help. But I would feel uncomfortable with that as an argument if the Championship don't get the same amount of opportunity as the Premier League do to finish. Long-winded answer on that. Get your thoughts in on that. I think he might have been being a bit facetious here. He gave an analogy about the FA Cup. Norwich have done brilliantly to get into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. I think he said they played all their games away from home as well. And he said, well, if you're stopping the Championship and letting somebody win it, then that he should get equal share of the FA Cup. Maybe he was being a little bit facetious there, a bit of a apples to oranges comparison, as teams like Leeds and West Brom, if everything stopped now, well, they would be promoted, wouldn't they? They're the best two teams, whereas the FA Cup is a cup competition, and that's the whole purpose of it, isn't it? That Wimbledon can beat Liverpool in the final despite Liverpool being a way better team, whereas the league is literally the best team gets the trophy at the end of it. So little bit facetious, but of course, yeah, Norwich have got to the FA Cup quarterfinals, then they do deserve, in a fair and real world position, to go and have a chance to go and win the trophy. Fair and real world position though just isn't happening. And again, I applaud Stuart Webber as well, like the people at Watford and Brighton. He said, as custodians of a club, every club has a self-interest. So I'm glad people are kind of getting that out. Look, yes, we do have a view, and of course we have self-interest. Every club does. I hope that didn't come across as a hit job on Stuart Webber. I'm a fan of what he's done, and I do agree in principle with his Championship to Premier League analogy, only if the Championship gets the same amount of opportunity to complete as the Premier League might, the same amount of funding, the same amount of resources, the same amount of energy put into theirs. That's not going to happen, is it? So, yes, in an ideal world that would happen. Get your thoughts in on what Stuart Webber has said. And to be fair to him, he did say that if everything's played out on the pitch, then of course relegations and promotions can be honoured. However, is that going to happen, and is that going to happen across the board? Let me know what you think on all of those issues, the training protocols that have been announced, and presumably they'll be changed as we go into the second phase. You can do some guesswork. I'm sure we'll get some answers. What are the EFL going to come up with? What are you going to be happy with? Are we going to get a resolution today, or will it rumble on until tomorrow? I'm sure a lot of headaches for EFL people sitting through 3 separate long-winded meetings with lots of people with lots of different agendas for their clubs being involved in them. And get your thoughts in on Stuart Webber's comments. They're good that he's spoken out as honestly as he did. What do you think of his views? Thank you everybody for watching. No doubt more later on. I did film another episode of Reeve and Bloom with Jack Reeve from Talk Norwich City, so more Stuart Webber chat and stuff. I think we'll put that up at about 6 o'clock or something tonight. And if anything big from the EFL breaks, send me a tweet at Benjamin Bloom and we'll be right across it. I should be checking, etc. etc. At the moment, I will not be going back to work until a minimum of June the 1st, and hey, could even be longer than that. We will see what pans out. We've all got some hard conversations and some hard decisions to make coming up. As always, get the debate going in the comments. I welcome debate from everyone. I need to make an apology. I've been trying to film in different rooms, and I tried to do it in the kitchen and put the stuff on the island, and then the camera was too far away and the audio was crap. So I do apologise for yesterday's first video. And hey, I appreciate the feedback people gave me, which was all polite and nice, which is what I always ask for people to subscribe and get involved in the comments, but try and be kind. So hopefully that message is getting across, and I do apologise about the audio. Hopefully this is better. Remember, we're all DIY here, most of us are on YouTube, so try and get the picture and the sound as good as possible, but I do welcome your feedback. Thank you very much for watching. See you on the next video, probably with news from the EFL. Bye everyone.